Start again. Come on, you can do better than that.
Hi, James.
You can say, what did you think of that article I sent you?
Okay. All right, here we go again. Hi, James.
Hello, Catherine.
Real quick, what did you think of that article I sent you?
Can you not hear it in my voice already?
Well, I can, but I'm waiting for more.
You are so lucky that we are not recording in person.
It wasn't that bad, was it? I knew
Just
it would
want to
trigger.
throttle someone right now.
Oh my gosh.
And well, not someone. You.
No, not me. I didn't make this
You're the one who
up.
sent me this article.
I know, but I didn't start the process. I mean, I'm just reporting the facts.
I don't understand how you say you don't start the process. You start the process by saying, ooh, let's look for something that will trigger the shit out of James.
No, I was just reading ARTnews and this came up.
Well, that's your first problem. I hate ARTnews. That is a just god-awful website. Their word mark is terrible.
Uh-huh.
Capital A-R-T, lowercase news. Looks like shit. Come on. If you're an art site, put some effort into it. Literally, I mean, it looks like complete shit. The other thing that bothers me...
I do like some of their articles.
Well, I haven't found one that I've liked so far. It seems really superficial and stupid.
Well, they are. They kind of just give you a little... This was kind of more than a tease, though, and I just... Talk about the article since you're so duly triggered.
Online art investment platform Masterworks... I can barely go on after having to say Masterworks, but Masterworks gets boost from investors and $1 billion valuation.
$1 billion. Mm-hmm.
It's like how... seems like it's just nothing these days to get $1 billion valuation.
So it's an online investment platform that was founded in 2017 that sells shares in blue chip art.
It's using all those words very loosely.
Right. But, I mean, well, what was the gist for you? I mean, we don't have to discuss it in any detail, but...
Well, the funny part is, as I was reading the beginning part of what they're doing, I'm thinking, are they trying to securitize artwork? And then literally the very next sentence is them saying they're trying to securitize artwork. If you remember, that's what kind of got us into trouble in the housing bubble when a bunch of these really smart, quote, smart stock people, investment banker dum-dums, thought, hey, you know what? If we take a bunch of house loans and put the mortgages and put them all together, that will equalize, some will go bad, but some will make a lot of money, or make the regular return on investment. So that securitizes them by adding the good and the bad together, kind of evens things out and makes them, quote, secure, so that you don't have to worry about losing all your money. Which, of course, drove a crazy gold rush mentality, and then they were selling homes to people who couldn't afford them, and then... if you have 99% of the people defaulting in their mortgages, it doesn't matter how many of those are securitized. You can't securitize against that.
Right.
That's what they're trying to do with artwork. Literally artwork. Like they buy a famous Picasso or Matisse, and then they sell off shares in it, essentially.
Right.
Because the art world, that's where all the money is being made. If you're in the art world and you have to say consistently outperforms the stock market, you should know that there's something wrong with your idea of what the art world is.
Like if I bought a piece of art, I would just want to look at it. Maybe I'm very simple Simon, or it should be hanging in a museum. And why does everyone have to get their paws on it and stick their fingers in it and get a piece of the action? They listed a lot of the artists who were involved, Basquiat being one of them, and they're just selling off pieces.
Be careful.
What?
Be careful. You say that the artists involved.
Oh, not the artists.
Sounds like the artists have something to do with this, which...
No, the artists aren't involved. Some of them aren't even, most of them probably aren't even alive. Dead. Yeah, they're dead. And so it's like you're taking someone's work and profiting off it. I mean, it's bad enough. I mean, to me, like a lot of artists or most artists, often make the most money when they're no longer on this planet, okay? And so that's bad enough. But then to just take it and sell it is bad enough. Like people sell the art and then now they're cutting it up and selling it and someone else is profiting.
Well, they're not
big time.
Technically cutting it up.
No, cutting up the profits, cutting up pieces, making shares of it. I mean, how many shares of a Basquiat or a Van Gogh or a James piece do you, I mean, where does it end?
How many shares do you get? And the answer to that is as many as they can sell. Right.
And so it's this another infinite con game?
Of course. Wasn't that obvious from the beginning that this was some kind of con? And this is my favorite thing though, right? Because the art world is so unscrupulous. Mm-hmm. This is how my idea of how I would set this up. I would buy a couple of artworks. I would, buy the cheapest Picassos and Rembrandts and maybe not Rembrandt. I don't know if there are any cheap Rembrandts. Oh, actually there are cheap Rembrandts. because there's some reproductions of Rembrandt's, but from his original plates. Mm-hmm. I ran into this in, what was that, somewhere in New Mexico.
Santa Fe.
I walked into a gallery there, and they had some, quote, original Rembrandt prints. And I was like, wow, it's amazing you had these. And then I looked at the fine print and says, wait a second, these are new prints? And the gallerist was like, yes, we secured the plates, and we've been making new prints from the plates. And I'm thinking, you can't call them Rembrandts unless Rembrandt printed them.
Right.
Because it's not just the plate that's the Rembrandt, it's the process of printing them. Because when you oil a plate, a lot of work goes on, a lot of the artistic skill and craft goes into the printing of it. Mm-hmm. You can't call these Rembrandts unless he did them. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, they are from the Rembrandt plates. I was like, oh my God, you're such a piece of shit.
Wow.
So nonsense keeps going on. Anyway, this is the art world. So my point being, I would buy these copy Rembrandts, and a bunch of as much junk as I could, basically, but that had good names attached to them. Mm-hmm. I would sell shares in them, 1,000 shares for $1,000 each, or whatever. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. And then I would find some country that does not have a extradition agreement with the United States, run off there, sell the artwork, and live off of basically doubling my profits, because I get the money from selling the artwork plus all these stupid people who bought shares in the artwork. Who's going to stop me?
Maybe the Security and Exchange Commission.
Hence, I'm off to Ecuador, which I think Ecuador doesn't.
I don't know. I have not had a need to look into extradition places. So.
Well, see, now I've given you a reason to.
Oh, no. I guess this company, they do register the individual work with the United States SEC.
Well, they have to.
Yeah. And then investors are able to buy shares in the pieces. So not an individual place owns this. No one really owns these works other than this company.
Well, the company owns the works, but this is the most ridiculous thing to buy a share in, because when you buy a share in a company, there's actual tangible assets and there's a board that's responsible for it. There are all kinds of laws and regulations and safeguards in place so that it can't be abused. But literally, no one can come in and steal a company, but someone can come in and steal this artwork. And then it's gone, and then you have zero value.
Well, my question was, and maybe they
this is not the kind of thing that you sell shares in.
That's what I was thinking, and like, how do they reap their money? So you buy shares in it, and then where does the money come back? I mean, how are they generating income? Because if you buy shares in other companies, like, there's income generated, and you get your reports
naive Catherine. Wall Street does not make money off of companies making money. Wall Street makes money off of transaction fees.
Oh, I don't know anything. See, I don't do the stock market. I can't imagine how anyone's getting a return on their investment buying shares in this art.
That's the dirty little secret that came out, 10, 15 years ago. They were looking at Goldman Sachs, and Goldman Sachs is supposed to be the gold standard for it's supposed to be the gold standard for traders and Wall Street people, right? And it turned out most of their profit was coming simply from transactions, buying and selling of stocks for their clients, not their investment stuff, but actually just the transaction fees. Wow.
I guess this triggered me to some extent. I knew for sure it would trigger you, and I just wanted you to read it.
I don't remember the specific number, but it's something like less than 1% of stock traders beat the average annual market.
I have no idea.
So if the market goes up 6%, an average stock trader his picks will only go up 4 or 5%. They're just really bad.
Enough of
that. What else is there to say? No,
not enough.
Sorry, I had a few other thoughts about these scum-sucking vampires. They're sucking every ounce of value they can find, whether it's there or not, and conning people into buying it. One of the things I thought was really interesting was that they said in passing that this company also has a range of other things that they invest in, including sports and pop culture memorabilia and retail.
Wow.
So that's not a lot of other things. That's just basically baseball cards and, quote, retail, which doesn't mean anything to me. Oh, and now art. So art is like a baseball card, basically.
Yeah. Where are these pieces housed? Are they in museums? Are they out for loan? Are they hanging in their own museum? Are they in storage? Like, where are these works held?
That is an excellent question, and the answer to which I do not have. Earlier, you were talking about chopping these things up, and I was thinking, what's the logical next step of this, Catherine? After you quote, securitize, and again, they don't even understand the meaning of the word securitize, because that's not really securitizing the work. Mm-hmm. But what's the logical next step, Catherine? Because I know what it is. Do you?
Well, cutting them up and making decoupage?
Well, that would be one way to do it. You could actually cut up the artwork and send it off to the people who bought pieces of it. I mean, that would be... That to me seems like an artwork I could get written up in ARTnews for if I went in and stole one of these paintings, cut it up, and then send it to all the investors. Like 1% of it. You get 3 threads from the Picasso painting, and this is your work. This is what you bought. The obvious next step here is to actually chop up the artist themselves and sell them off. You're not buying a Picasso. You're buying Picasso.
Oh my God,
Isn't that obvious? No. This is the obvious next step, and
no,
obviously for those Trekies, this will sound normal because this is what the Ferengis do. They actually auction off their remains after they die because you know the Ferengis, right?
Barely.
Barely. Do you not watch Star Trek?
No.
Oh, why are you on this podcast? This is all about. This is a Star Trek podcast. I mean, I know we haven't talked about Star Trek yet, but this is everything to this point.
I watched it way back in the day. I remember the Ferengis. I can see what they look like in my mind.
They were so funny. That was so pathetic. They were supposed to be when the next generation came out in the late '80s. I think it was.
Right.
The Ferengi was supposed to be the new villain. They're supposed to replace the Romulans or the Klingons, whomever you want to pick, and they were just so stupid looking and so dumb as a concept that eventually they just became the butt of the jokes.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean, they had butt heads.
They did.
Their heads are literally butts with big ears.
I know. No, I did watch Star Trek back in the day. I just tried to forget most of it.
Why?
I don't know. It was just so hammy. Particularly the original ones. I mean, it's just
the original one. There are some bad episodes, but most of it's pretty good.
Yeah, they are good for that time and.
For that time,
it's like. I mean, well, it just encapsulates that time, doesn't it? With a lot of the social.
You can see some of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of social commentary and.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the whole point of Star
Trek.
It's thinly veiled social commentary.
Right. Well, we'll have to do an episode on Star Trek. I'll bone
up. At least the good parts of Star Trek. Most, a lot of Star Trek devolves into just, let's go kill the Romulans. Shoot,
right.
Pew pew pew.
I'm sorry I triggered you again, but sorry not sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I think this is what you live for now.
No, it's just...
It's not. It's just a delightful little cupcake.
Well, it's like if I'm searching the internet as part of my daily scrolling thing I do, and I come upon these little gems, and I'm like, oh, I got to send this to James.
It is deeply disturbing to me that you know me so well that you know exactly where to push the buttons.
Yeah. Well, this pushed my buttons. I don't think we're that different. And I was like, this is just effed.
Well, I don't know. I do get out of the house, Catherine. So
I got out of the house. Okay. Let me tell you the grossest flipping thing I did. I was supposed to go to Costco with my friend Susan. And she wanted me to take her to Costco. I was going to get gas. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I woke up and I'm like, I don't want to flip and deal with groceries today. I'm done. I've got stuff here. I'll eat Cheerios. I don't care anymore. I said, but I do need to get out of the house. And she's like, well, why don't you come over? And you were talking about starting a garden. So I have a compost pile in my alley that the city of Phoenix wants me to get rid of, but I won't. And I've been fighting with them for 15 years over it. And so come in and we'll get compost out of it and we'll screen it and you can take it home and use it to plant your stuff. It's really good. So I did that. And it was the grossest thing. I mean, there were worms in the compost, James.
Worms? You're supposed to have worms in the compost.
Oh, my God. They were like weird curly white worms.
You mean maggots?
They turn into bugs.
Yeah.
They were big, like 3 inches.
I don't know all the worms, but generally white worms are more,
bad?
More grub than
it was a grub.
Than worm.
It was a grub. It was fucking gross.
It's supposed to be worms. Is this an open pile or is it closed?
It's an open pile in her alley.
Oh, no, you can't use that.
No?
No.
Why?
Because animals probably have been pooping in it. You don't know what's in it. In order to get a clean compost, you have to make sure it's kind of a closed system. You have to know what's going in. And if it's open enough that a cat can come by and piss and poop in it, you can't use that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, God, we worked so hard. I was in the compost pile.
I'm so sorry.
I was in the compost pile.
So I guess you're not much of a gardener.
I'm not a gardener.
Okay.
And I'm not a farmer, evidently. It was the grossest thing I've done ever. Ever!
That might be a hint that it's wrong. Compost should be a little bit distasteful at times, depending upon what point you get it at. but it shouldn't really be disgusting or gross like that.
It was the Brea Tar Pits of compost.
I mean, it should just be dirt.
Yeah, there was a lot of dirt.
Stages.
There was a lot of dirt, but there were these worms.
And who is this again? Who did this to you?
My friend Susan.
You need to have a word with Susan.
No.
And I think the city is absolutely right. The city should come in and clear that out.
She's
if
adorable.
There are maggots in it. Oh boy.
I don't think they were maggots. They were like 3 inches big.
Okay, that's a big maggot, but who knows what's going on in a wild compost heap like that?
Wild compost heap. Oh, so there.
Hey, next time go to Costco. Oh, and I had an idea.
What?
Buy the biggest knife you can find and strap it to your thigh, so when you see Meat Guy again, you can just kind of show him your bigger knife than he has.
Oh,
maybe
he'll
walk away.
I haven't seen Meat Guy since like my second or third time I went to Costco.
Well, he probably got COVID and died.
Oh, my God, don't.
Why not?
I don't know.
Isn't that what COVID is for?
A friend of mine who is anti-vax texted me the other day that she got COVID.
COVID is sent by God to kill all the anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, and she used ivermectin and was better after her first dose.
No, I'm sure that's absolutely true. Unfortunately, I have an online friend who I thought was vaccinated, but was not vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Neither was his wife or his mother-in-law, and they've all got COVID. And last I heard, she was in the emergency room, or the mother.
Oh, no. Did they take ivermectin?
Oh, no. They're in the hospital. They don't give ivermectin in the hospital. You know that, right?
No, I did know that. Okay. But my friend said that she went to a naturopath in Mesa.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And got she's like, we got the pill form, not the horse paste. And I took
one
dose.
How is that naturopath if you're getting ivermectin from a naturopath?
The whole thing didn't make any sense to me, James. And I just texted her back, I'm so glad you're feeling better. Take care. And
you fucking nut.
And she sent me a thumbs up. And, as long as they didn't die, I'm okay with it. Do what you feel you need. I don't know. I just, it's like they won't take the vaccines, but they'll take something that's not approved for viruses. And
isn't that crazy? That's the craziest thing ever. It's like, you guys, you won't pay attention to any of the real scientists, but the fake scientists who are literally selling ivermectin.
Right.
This is they're pumping it up because they're trying to sell it to you, or they're trying to sell their own remedies to you for $1,000 a pop. These are the ones, not the people who aren't making anything off of it by just giving you the information. You want the ones who are actually selling you something.
Right.
With no scientific background. There was a recent study they did a meta study of all the ivermectin studies and found that any ivermectin studies that showed any kind of positive results from ivermectin were either outright fraudulent or deeply flawed.
Right. I read probably the same article. But then you have these anecdotal things, and Joe Rogan was a proponent of it. He threw everything at it.
Well, yeah, he wasn't exactly a proponent of it. I wouldn't say he was necessarily hard in the anti-vax camp or
no, I don't think. No, he wasn't
camp.
hardcore. No, he wasn't hardcore. But this gal is hardcore, and it's stressed our relationship on many levels with the beliefs. She sent me a text warning me to not have my folks get the booster because she's read a lot of articles that, horrible things are happening, and then said that she and her husband had gotten over COVID over a period of 3 weeks using ivermectin.
Well, if you had the vaccine, you wouldn't have to spend 3 weeks getting over it.
Haunted stuff aside, or spooky October, I think some of the scariest stuff is always real life. And the scariest and saddest things that have happened to me, and again, only my perception of this pandemic, was seeing these weird divisions and with people that I held so dear for many, many years. This person was in my life for over 15, 16, 17 years. We did so many things together, and I never knew. A, the fragility of our relationship, or B, how far someone could be pushed to not deal with reality, whether it's scary, whether it's just too hard, whether
they create their own reality.
And it's
cleaved. That's the sad part is you can create this own reality of yours, but it's eventually going to come crashing into real reality, and you're not going to be the better for it. Not you personally, but I'm saying the people who are.
Right.
Believing.
Yeah. It's and the weird thing was I was kind of waiting for that text or a call. I was or some note on Instagram or something, I was waiting for it because, not being vaccinated and quote unquote, I'm getting on with my life. I want to get on with my life more than anybody.
Well, Catherine, as long as you do your own research to determine whether or not it's right for you and your family, then I think you're okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm fucking research. Like either of us, you probably are actually not authorized. You are authorized to do your own research, Catherine.
Thank you, James.
I meant intelligent enough to do it because you're a nurse. You have that medical background. I don't, so I have to look to the experts who I trust, like doctors, practitioners, scientists, the CDC, small people like that.
Well, that's exactly who I look to, and you follow the actual science. And anyone who's not getting the vaccine, I wish they would. And I wish they would put this nonsense aside. And the people that I have held dear in my life, even though our relationship has changed, I still don't wish them any ill. And I was really saddened and, kind of scared. And it's like, is this really over? Because some of these people, it sounds like it probably is over for her. And I hope she has some natural immunity, on that. But
yeah, it's not as good as the vaccine, though.
Right. I mean, I've read different sides of that argument, but I think that
it's pretty clear. The studies have shown that if you've had COVID, it's still good to get the vaccine because I think it's somewhere between 2 and 3 times more resistant if you've had if you get that vaccine rather than just the natural immunity.
Right. They're golden. Like if you had a mild case and then you get like one dose, they really do have more sustained immunity than those of us who've just relied on the vaccine. But why flip a coin? Why throw a die? Why?
Of course, the irony of this is all these people complaining about the lockdowns and having to do mandates and masking and they can't do certain things. Well, in Spain just reached 80%, so they've opened up their country again, and it's totally normal. If you would just get vaccinated, we could move on with our lives.
Right,
you wouldn't have to wear a mask anywhere. Everything would be open again. Yes, people would still be getting it, but at such small numbers that,
it'd be manageable.
We can tolerate that.
It'd be manageable.
It still would be a lot better than the number of people who get murdered every year by guns or car accidents.
Right. I was just talking to someone else about, who also knows this person, and this person I held dear for so many years. And still, I miss the person that I hung out with. I mean, this is a different person now, and my other friend was like, and now it just shores up the whole concept that, they're okay. It's scary because they could get COVID again and, maybe not have such a good...
how sick do they get and are there any lasting consequences? And my friend, unfortunately, and his wife both apparently lost their taste and sense of smell, which...
Jeez.
Obviously you can survive that, but that sounds like a totally terrible thing to have happen to you.
I think it sounds horrid.
I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks, but next time I'm going to interview him and see how he's feeling about that. Has he come back or what's going on with that? There are long-term consequences for a lot of people.
There are long-term consequences. That's what I'm saying. Like, why flip a coin on that? It's just, how do we start talking about COVID?
Oh, God, who knows?
Oh, God.
How about Artist of the Week?
Artist of the Week. That was awesome. Talk about that. That was amazing.
I look at a website called thisiscolossal.com because it's a nice blog format of art stuff that's going on, but it's mostly about shows and artists who are coming out with new work.
Right.
And I don't know what the percentage is, but probably, I'm going to just say 50% of it's junk because 50% of, art world is junk. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I find these wonderful gems on there, and that's why I keep looking at it, because it's easy to scroll through the junk and get to the beautiful stuff. We've been so negative on this show about the art world, or I have anyway. And so I came across last week. I usually do it on the weekends. I usually scroll through a bunch of days on the weekends for the colossal.com, or thisiscolossal.com. And on the homepage, which had maybe 10 posts, I loved every single piece, which was really unusual. But one of them that really caught my eye was, I think she's a Spanish artist named, and I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it's Cinta Vidal. And this, we'll link it from the website. She's basically surrealist. And it's like a surrealist MC Escher. I know that's redundant.
No, that's exactly what I thought.
Well, MC Escher is a surrealist too.
Right.
And I love MC Escher, but this is like MC Escher with a little bit more humanity in it. Because Escher is really abstract, I think, or he's very analytical in my mind.
Right.
When Cinta here infuses it with humanity, and it's also so subtle. You don't even necessarily... I look at her works, and there's nothing jarring about it, even though I'm looking at one of her works, and literally it's an interior interior apartment space, and there's a woman sitting on the couch, or a person, I don't remember exactly what it was.
It's a
person sitting on the couch, and then on the ceiling, flipped 180 degrees, is someone working at a table. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel forced or weird. It just feels normal and kind of, I get a sense of comfort from it.
I did too. That's interesting that you say that, because that's exactly how I felt. I looked at it and I was like, wow, you kind of want to go into that space, And she is such the focal point, but then all of a sudden the whole world like opens up around her. My eye instantly went to the figure. It's pretty much almost the center of the painting, the center bottom of the painting. And then so from her, and then I started my perusal of the painting. And I just found it very soothing. I like the details that she puts in terms of, because Escher is so linear in so many ways. And this is really detailed and with the color. I mean, I just really like this.
Escher is more about the geometry. I think he's just so focused on the geometry. And it's beautiful work, but this takes takes that element and just puts it in subtly. And it's, well, how can I say this other than it makes me want to go to there, to use a Tina Fey phrase. I want to go to there.
Right. That's how I felt. I wanted to be in the room. I know.
I love Tina Fey.
I do too. I'm
literally in love with her.
Oh, are you? Oh. I just was taken with the details, even the cat on the couch that's on the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's partly because she humanitizes her painting so much. There's so much humanness in it. It's just such a casual scene of life.
Right.
And all the little details just show you the human life that we have. And there's a cat there, so who's going to say, well, I'm not going to ever say no to a cat, but she has an amazing drafting ability. So she drafts these people with a kind of a subtle softness, which is very engaging, very easy to get sucked into. Mm-hmm. And then the color is exactly the same thing. It's a subtle palette, and yet it's not muted, really. It's muted and subtle, but at the same time it's vibrant. I know that's a hypocritical thing to say, but
no, not
hey,
really.
That's what it is. And the other thing that really comes through in a lot of her works is that she has a total command of light. Mm-hmm. She is an amazing painter of light.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice the paintings on the back wall? Some of them are upside down.
I didn't, because I was looking at a lot of different works. And she actually has some, on her website, she has a wonderful website.
I'll have to check it out.
She has some black and white sketches that are for you to print out in color if you want.
Oh, wow.
And those are beautiful too, because when you take the complexity of color out of that out, you can kind of focus more on the geometry. Mm-hmm. It's a little more Escher-y. Escher-y.
Yeah, I really got the Escher component with the movement.
But it's not derivative. It's not derivative. It uses that as just one element of a very complex system of different parts that come together to make a really engaging and delightful whole. Yeah, so I just love Vidal, this woman's work, and like I said, I think she's Spanish, and she must be old because she has a Hotmail account.
Oh,
you kids even know Hotmail?
I never used Hotmail,
but it was one of the original, not one of the original, but one of the early email services that was eventually bought by Microsoft.
Oh,
and now it's nothing because Microsoft destroys everything they buy. Thanks, Microsoft. I mean, who uses Skype anymore?
Right. I'm looking at her piece called Eventide.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, she extends this out to exteriors of buildings. She would basically take a building and wrap it in and on itself. But she also has like a beautiful camping scene where it's kind of like a rock, and you see people camping all over different aspects of it and different slopes and different areas and upside down. And as someone who camps, it would be really nice sometimes to be able to actually set your camp up 90 degrees to someone else. Just because landscapes.
I don't camp. I'm not camping after yesterday.
That does not surprise. You don't have to camp in compost.
I didn't think about the open versus closed system of composting. Oh, geez.
Well, I don't know what the technical terms, but you have to know what's going in, and you have to keep out the bad stuff. Because guess what? There's a lot of nasty stuff in the feces of dogs and cats and other animals that you can't put that anywhere near your food source. You can't grow food out of it.
Okay. Point taken.
That's why we have all these. I spent all this time creating fencing around our garden beds here in my house, at our house, to keep the cats out so they won't poop in it. Because if they poop in it, then we can't eat out of it.
How is your garden?
Well, that's my wife's concern, and that's she grew some things this year, but they didn't come out quite as well as we'd hoped. She had a great harvest of kale. Was it kale? Some kind of leafy green vegetable, and some lettuce as well.
Oh, nice.
But then the carrots didn't really come out well. They grew like crazy, but then the carrot literally it was like half-inch white carrot for 6 months of growing. So
I know that carrots can be disappointing. I told you when I was growing, when I lived in Central Phoenix, with my partner, and he would grow all this stuff, and we got attacked. It was like the attack of the nematodes, which I didn't even know what a nematode was, but they ate all the carrots, and the carrots that they didn't eat, the dog ate, so they just dug them up. And
well,
so
at least someone was eating them.
Yeah, well, I got to buy them at Safeway. So anyway, I like her work. That was really interesting.
So from Vidal to Goya?
We had thought about doing some spooky paintings. I thought there'd be a plethora of like haunted items, museums, painting. There's nothing on the internet that is remotely interesting.
The internet is just a toxic sludge dump now. It's like an open compost pit. Just don't go there. It's not healthy for you.
It's not healthy.
So I was thinking in my head, the only painting that really sticks out in my head when I think of horror or something that makes me feel at the very least uncomfortable and somewhat horrified is Goya's painting of Saturn devouring his son.
It is horrifying.
And Goya's kind of a weird guy because on the surface, if you just look from a mile away at his paintings, he looks kind of childish, almost a little bit on the level of Munch. But when you get closer, you can really see that the detail of his brushwork is really amazing. And what looks to be kind of a simplistic painting is actually very detailed and has a lot of depth and a lot of skill in the painting of it. But then you get to this piece, Saturn devouring. So that's a god. And the myth goes that, and I think this is supposed to be Zeus. I get confused with the mythology and the change in the names. Yeah, but I believe it's Zeus, or maybe it was Kronos, who eats his children because there's a prophecy that one of his children will dethrone him. And so he eats the children as they come out, which, okay, Greeks, that's kind of weird. Thank you for that imagery. So this painting is of a monstrous Zeus or Kronos, or let's just stick with Saturn, devouring his son. And it hits me on several levels. First, it's dark, like a Goya would normally be dark. And it starts with the bug eyes. The bug eyes almost look a bit over the top to me, but you look a little bit closer, and then you see the whole expression of the face. And it's almost like he's horrified by his own actions. Like I get this overwhelming sense by the expression on the face that he is horrified, at the same time he can't stop.
Right.
The other thing that really kind of jumps to my mind nowadays is that I see this deformed figure of Saturn, and it really looks, it reminds me of a lot of the monsters that we see in modern movies, like Stranger Things, that kind of awkward, jaunty, weirdly constructed monsters.
Right.
This is what it looks like. It looks like a really weirdly put together massive human, and then he's grasping on the corpse of his child as he's eating him, and you can just see the strain in the fingers as it's digging. Oh God, I can't even go on. I can't go on.
Well, it's digging into the body, yes, and it's just almost like. And when I saw that, and knowing some of the mythology, I think mythology does like confound me to some extent because the Greeks or the Romans, they all have different names for the same gods.
Right, yeah.
And so it's like, is it Zeus? Is it Saturn? Who the heck is it?
Talk about cultural appropriation.
Right. But like in terms of like the devouring of multiple progeny, it's almost like, to me, it's like his body became deformed with the evil of doing that, or the act of doing that, and not necessarily evil that's calling it out. Like, what was he before these acts started, or did this start morphing him into some like almost not disarticulate, but the articulations? I mean, the limbs are all wrong, the bones are too long, it's gangly, it's weird. Is this changing him just to hold on to power?
That's a great take, and that's a very easy, superficial way to start. A grotesque painting is just, I'm just going to deform the person, but usually that's just comes off as being superficial, but this, he's such a master at painting the form that you believe that the deformity that you're seeing on the canvas is speaking to the soul of the creature.
Right. It
Saturn.
looked like a metamorphosis to some extent to me.
So the whole point we're talking about this is because this is horror in painting.
This is horror in painting.
This is, quote, this isn't even spooky. This just creeps the shit out of me.
Right.
It's hard to look at. The crazy thing is he painted this for his own home. He hung this in his home.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I wouldn't want to look at that every day. And the stuff that it brings up, it's not just that it's kind of a grotesque depiction, albeit, masterfully executed. The image is just so off-putting and so layered that I couldn't look at this every day and have that in my face. There's no way.
Here's the thing. Some artists are really messed up. And I think this is an indication of that. And, maybe you don't want to hang out with artists. Maybe it's a good thing that we're not artists.
Maybe it's a good thing.
Now,
it's a good thing.
think I'd love to hang out with Cinta if she wasn't, but she's probably too busy painting.
Oh, she's amazing.
And I would not want to get in her way.
No. Goya, just as his works I always have found fascinating, but not viewable over time. I wouldn't want to look at most of it.
God, no. And that, was it the 3rd or 4th of May that he has? That's one of his most famous paintings. Right. And that's a masterpiece too. But as you look at it just superficially, it doesn't look that impressive. It looks almost like childish a little bit because the forms are really rounded and it's just kind of a slapdash, but it's very impressionistic. And that's you really start looking finally at the painting details. He creates the eyeball by a couple of just dashes of paint. Mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of skill to do that. Let me see. I'm going to actually look this up to see which one it was. Because I know he has several like date paintings. Oh yeah, it was the 3rd of May, 1808. So this is during the Spanish Civil War. I think it was one of the wars. Some horrible war. Yeah, and this is one of the signature pieces. It looks almost childlike, but when you actually look at it very carefully, and yeah, there's a lot of connotations in the work. I don't want to dissect it, but you got to look closely at Goya's to really appreciate them.
You do. Well, thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Well, I'm glad you thanked me because, like I said, this is not an easy thing to look at.
No, it's not an easy thing to look at, but since we were talking about doing spooky stuff.
I just want to get back to Cinta.
Yeah, get back to Cinta. Let's end on a happy note.
Yeah, I'm just saying I just want to look at her work again.
Well, I'll get on her website after we wrap this because I just found her stuff very impressive.
So I'm looking at the lead piece from the Colossal article, which is the interior apartment. Now I counted 4 cats, but I may have missed one. I don't know. Oh, I think it may be a 5th. It's hard to see the level of detail.
Yeah, there's 5 cats. There's one on a couch
1, 2,
above
3,
her.
4, 5, 6. There may be 6.
Oh, there are 6 because there's one on the guy's desk.
Yeah, I can't see that's the detail. The picture isn't high enough. The resolution isn't high enough for me to tell if that's just a lump. No, I think that's a cat. Wow, 6 cats. That's crazy.
6 cats. I'd be sneezing.
Well, that sucks for you.
It does. It does. I had one cat once, and that's enough.
You know what would be great about COVID if it killed your allergies, right? If it kills your sense of taste, can't it just kill your allergies?
Oh, God. COVID. Well, I hope your friend does well. Are they all in the hospital?
Yeah, I hope so. No. Just the mother-in-law, and that was a while back, or several days ago now. So I don't know what the update on that is, and I am deeply curious about whether or not he's going to regain his sense of taste and smell, because, like I said, that seems like a really nasty thing to give up.
I think that's
the crazy
horrible.
thing about his wife works at a casino.
Oh, man.
And she wasn't vaccinated either. I can't believe she worked at a casino and wasn't vaccinated. That's just nutty to me.
Why would you do that? I don't get it. And I just want people to wake up. I follow this physician on YouTube, Duc Vuong, V-U-O-N-G. He's amazing. He talked today about he does like daily COVID updates when there's news. He doesn't always talk about it if there's not. And they're just short. And he talked about the myocarditis today. I would encourage anyone who's listening to tune into his YouTube. It's DUC-VUONG. And he talked about the myocarditis and really looking at published work in the New England Journal of Medicine. He goes, these are peer-reviewed, like doctors look at this to actually get their information. And over like 5.1 million doses of these mRNA vaccines, right. And there were like less than 200 cases of myocarditis. Only 7 were severe.
5 million? Where are you looking at 5 million? That's a fraction of...
It was from Israel. It was Israeli data. And he's like, so if you're looking at 5.1 million people getting vaccinated and like 138 cases, whatever, it was a very minute fraction of the millions.
Yeah, and they're not resulting in death. They're just
right. He said 1 case resulted in death, and then people are like, oh, that's too many. He goes, yeah, like 4.1 million people have died, worldwide. 700,000 in this country from COVID, and that's not too many. You're going to worry about 1. And then he talked about
that's the problem with our perception of our risk perception.
Right.
Human risk perception is completely terribly skewed. If we think it can be prevented, we overestimate how important it is versus something random like getting in your car is 1,000 times, probably more than 1,000 times more dangerous than getting the vaccine, but you don't think about getting in your car because you do it every day.
Right.
You're far more likely to get shot today than you are to have any kind of bad reaction to the COVID.
God, particularly in this country.
Yes, I was going to say, for our U.S. listeners, that's how it works.
That is so
I don't
sad.
know, are you wearing your Kevlar jacket?
No.
Well, you might get stabbed if you go to Costco.
Oh, my gosh.
By the way, Grandma, you were talking about YouTube, and YouTube is for old people now.
Oh, YouTube's for old people?
All the kids are on TikTok.
But TikTok doesn't. I don't know.
Dr. Eric B. will give you more. And cat
cat epidemiologist. Right.
Thank you. There's plenty of good content on TikTok. It's so easy to find bad content, but there's plenty of good content on there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he still does stuff on Facebook Live, and I don't do Facebook. I know.
It's even worse than YouTube. Jesus, you're getting older by the second.
No, I don't do Facebook. I've never liked it. I find it ridiculous.
Yeah, it's totally gross. How affected were you by their blackout this last week?
Zero. Because I don't.
Zero. Same here.
Yeah, I don't rely on that. Even when my uncle passed away a couple of weeks ago, my cousin's like, I put some stuff on Facebook. I'm like, I'm not on Facebook. I never saw the efficacy or the necessity of Facebook. It's like I'm super old fashioned, but I prefer when you call me.
Facebook is now old fashioned.
Yeah, I just never connected with the platform. Twitter was my jam.
I just was making a joke about, the kids being on TikTok and
the TikTok. Yeah, I'll look at it again. I just keep getting junk. I guess I'm not good at training its algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of it works for me actually, and I just want to live in my own bubble.
Well, that sounds like a good place to end it then. In your bubble. Go back to your bubble and make sure in that bubble has no compost in it.
Okay. That really horrified you, didn't it?
Not horrified, it's grossed me out.
It was gross. It was gross. Okay. Well, thank you, James. Have a lovely day. Bye.
You too.